Hi there. Welcome to Bourbon Turntable. We are the show that blends the love of music with the love of whiskey. With me tonight, as always, my good friend Drew Crawley. Drew, how are you, buddy?
Howdy, sir. I'm doing well.
Yep.
It's been a wonderful week full of music,
Yep.
and
Those are the
bourbon as
best
well.
weeks. Yeah, those are the best
Absolutely.
weeks, aren't they?
Yeah. So got to go see Rustin Kelly this last week at Mercury Ballroom. Played a show last night. Got to see you. Got to see our buddy Mike. Drink a
Yep.
little bourbon. Getting ready for another week of seeing other people play and playing a little too. So I'm about as happy as I get between the
Yep.
bourbon and the music stuff. So yeah, how about yourself?
Oh yeah, this kind of kicks off a really good stretch of music. Friday night, Mike got into town from Kansas City. We went up to Red Bicycle Hall in Madison, Indiana. Nice little small town, and that's just a fantastic venue. And I talked with the guy that runs the thing, and so we're going to try to get some of our friends from down here to go play up there. But we saw Christina Vane, who's a very talented singer, songwriter, guitarist in her own right. Got to see her there. Then hung around with some of our bourbon buddies on Saturday. Then saw you on Saturday night. And next week, Sweet Lady is kicking off their ZZ Top Trace Hombres tribute show at Enchanted Forest here and just across the river over in New Albany. And then the week after that, Mojo Thunder makes the return to Louisville at Zanzibar. So some good stuff going on.
Happy camper in your world, yeah.
Oh, I know it. Now we just need to get a big Dusty Bow show, and Dusty is our guest tonight. And golly, not to get too deep into it right now, but I was just blown away by this album of his. We'll get into the details of it in a minute, but just really blown away, very impressed. And I'll save a little bit of praise for later, but man, this is going to be a good show, folks, because we're all excited about this music. We're going to taste some whiskey blind that Drew's picked out for us. But before we get into any more of that, we want to tell you about the Bar Cart Co-op. Bar Cart Co-op is a collection of friends that make whiskey content for the whiskey enthusiast. You have Distillers Talk with Alan Bishop and Christy Atkinson. Their shows air, their release shows Thursday or Friday. Kind of depends on how quickly Christy can get them edited and out. But they will talk with distillers from across the country, around the world, and they get into some really deep dives, nerding out on everything on how whiskey is made. So if you're a whiskey fan and you want to know more of how the whiskey that you really love got into that bottle in the first place, this is a show that you can kind of dig into, and you don't have to know a whole lot about distilling to really enjoy it. Alan does another show called One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute, where if you're a distiller, you don't have to be a distiller, but mostly it's distillers will email him questions, and he'll do YouTube videos answering those questions for these people, giving them advice, giving them consulting, direction, whatever the case may be. It's very interesting nerding out on whiskey. Speaking of nerds, we have our friends over at My Whiskey Den. Pat and Mike and Mitch are there. Their show is live every Monday night at 9 o'clock. They are talking primarily craft whiskey, but they'll get into some other stuff too. It's always a good time. The folks in the chat are wonderful. So be sure to check that out. And before we get any further, got one more announcement for you.
All right. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification to find out when new episodes come out, which is every Wednesdays on all of your streaming services everywhere. Apple, Spotify, whatever other ones there are, and the YouTube where you can watch the live recording itself.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you very much. We appreciate your contribution to the show as always. All right. So we want to introduce you guys to our friend Dusty Bow. And Dusty, welcome to Bourbon Turntable.
Hey, thank you so much. Thanks for having me. This is awesome.
Yeah, we're very excited to have you on here, and we were always looking for really good, fun musical artists that are talented, that have something great to sing about and a great story to tell. And so we're looking forward to digging into that with you. But before we do that, Drew, you want to kind of kick off this tasting, and then as we're giving a few sips of this whiskey, getting a few sips of this whiskey, we'll let Dusty tell us a little bit about himself.
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys both have a sample bottle that was sample A, hopefully clearly marked. And so go ahead and give that a nose. Tell me what you think. Dusty, we'll give you a second. Kevin, what do you think on this one?
It's very nice, very very light. Man, no, I like this a lot. It's got a kind of a cookie note to it, kind of a maybe not like a sugar cookie, but maybe a snickerdoodle note to it.
Yeah, kind of that. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Not a real heavy sugary dough cookie, but kind of that flatbread cookie type thing.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's funny. Good. I was gonna say a little cinnamon, but I don't.
Yep. Nope. I think it's fair.
And that's all. It also fits. Snickerdoodles are sugar and cinnamon cookies, so it might be. Yeah, it smells sweet.
Yeah, and it's really kind of coats the whole palate really well. Yeah, so not that I think that you'd give us anything that would be a gotcha. Like, hey, this.
You might.
Wow, Drew, you really picked some sucky whiskey here. But
hilarious.
No, this is very good. You can tell it's well crafted.
Awesome. Good deal. Dusty, any further thoughts or anything you'd like to add there?
Ooh. That's smooth. Sweet and smooth. Very tasty. Man, it's funny. I don't know that it's when I smelling it, it didn't smell like it was gonna have like a lot of bite to it, but it's like it tastes even smoother than it smelled to me, at least.
Yeah, most definitely. Delicious. Cool. Well, I'll go ahead and give the reveal on this one, and then we want to jump into a little bit of your background, Dusty, or surrounding whiskey and things of that nature. But this is, and I'm so sorry I did not grab the bottle when I came upstairs tonight, but this is a Lee W. Sinclair 4-grain bourbon from Spirits of French Lick. Our friend Alan Bishop distilled this, and this is a single barrel pick from Westport Whiskey and Wine. This is maybe one of the most off-profile Lee W. Sinclair picks that I have ever had. It is gentle, it's subtle, which is not typical of Spirits of French Lick products. But it has that really nice confectionery sugar note, I think. Just a little bit of that hint of spice on the back end, and some of those kind of herbal notes that Alan's known for come through on the finish. Yep. So this one was different. One of the other things I like about this one, and I think you two are probably having different experiences because Kevin, you're drinking it neat, and Dusty, you're on the rocks. It opens up with just a little bit of water, and that's where you can really tell that it's a Spirits of French Lick product, I think, with just a drop or two. So
I may have to try that now.
Job well done, Alan.
Yeah. I think this. I've got a bottle of this upstairs, but I think this probably weighs in around 100.
I think it's 106.4. I think, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, very good.
Tasty.
So,
yeah, I dig it.
Dusty, I know you're a bourbon fan. Tell us just a little bit about your history with bourbon. How'd you come across it? What was your first kind of memorable pours and things of that nature?
My first memorable pour was the first time I actually ever got intoxicated. Was at my uncle Steve's house. He knows the story. One of my favorite parts about growing up is telling my parents and uncles and aunts all the dumb things I did and breaking the law and whatever. And now that's like, I'm old enough, that doesn't matter anymore. But he had a great basement, or he has a great basement, and there's a bar, and he's got beer taps. And they went to sleep one night. Oh, I can't remember what holiday it was or whatever, but you know, they had a keg of Killian's Irish Red, and it was a keg. So like, they weren't going to know how many beers. It wasn't like, oh, we're taking cans of beers. It was like, so me and my brother, you know, so we drank. And then the first time I ever had bourbon was, he had it in, what do you call the bottles when you pour it in like the nice crystal bottle and has like the sign hanging from it?
Yeah, like a decanter.
Decanter, that's it. Yeah. I had it one of those, and I wasn't really a fan at first. I was 13, and 13 or 14, yeah. Anyways, wasn't much of a fan at first, but then when I got into, you know, at later teen years, and especially when I was of age and I could go to bars and actually like check, you know, have bartenders and servers tell me like about the bourbons, and like what, it wasn't just Jim Beam. There's more to it than Jim Beam and Maker's Mark, you know? So, but I really started getting into it more actually when I moved to Los Angeles. I was 21, and me and my band were we were a whiskey drinking bunch of young dirtbag rock and rollers. So, but I never was like much of a, I guess, a connoisseur with it, but I always enjoyed it. I really enjoyed, the taste of it, the flavor of it. And then also just, there's something, I don't know, there's something, like a ritual to it, you know what I mean? Like grabbing a bottle of bourbon and going to a buddy's house, or going to rehearsal, showing up with a bottle or whatever, sneaking a bottle in your guitar case or whatever. It was kind of something we just did, you know?
Absolutely. Awesome.
Yeah, man.
Awesome. Well, any final thoughts on this pour before we kind of jump deep into the music side of things?
Just keeps getting smoother.
Yeah. It's a very good whiskey.
Yeah. One more time. What's the title? What's it called?
Yeah. No, it's Lee W. Sinclair.
Lee W. Sinclair.
And it's the 4-grain product from Alan Bishop out at Spirits of French Lake.
Very tasty.
I will pull up an image of that here in just a second.
Cool.
Yeah.
But while I'm searching that out, let's give Dusty a chance to tell us about just what he's got going on. If you websites, dustybow.com, so everybody can go there to find out about you, but tell everybody, if they go there, what they're going to find.
That has the website has it's got links to all my socials, and then it has my show and tour dates listed, and then there's some live videos and stuff on there, and there is usually a merch store. There might be by the time this airs. There's just I have to update it. The company that I was using with the shop on there, they stopped carrying a decent amount of the shirts that I had designs for, because it's kind of like a print as you go. It's like you know what I mean, if that makes sense. Like it's not back stocked. I don't have it stocked. Like it's another company that handles it. But anyways, yeah, all the links and the all the links to my socials, and then some live videos, and yeah, just kind of a description of the Vulture and the Fox, just the record that I put out last year.
Very good.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. And if you don't mind, if you can recall them off the top of your head, where can people see you live? So this episode will drop middle of May. So from middle of May on, is there dates booked that we can come out and see you somewhere nearby?
There are. Let me look at my calendar real quick. So mid-May. So I'll be hitting the road. Yeah, I'll be hitting the road May 12th and 13th. This comes out the 15th.
17th.
Oh, 17th. Okay, so yeah, I'll be doing Pelizzaries and E-Town. I'm doing a good amount of solo acoustic gigs. Pelizzaries and E-Town, Elizabethtown, Kentucky on May 18th, and then May 19th at Taffy's of Eaton in Eaton, Ohio. And then Saturday, May 20th, live at the Lab in Lima, Ohio. And then Sunday, May 21st, Annabelle's in Akron, Ohio.
All right.
And then full band show, Ashland City, Tennessee at Marrowbone Creek Brewing Company.
Okay.
Very good, man.
Yeah, that'll be it. I'm looking forward to that one. I heard that's a cool joint. Never been there.
Yeah. Now I see there's on your website you've got a June 10th show at Central Tavern. Is that still in Madison? That's a full band show?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard. Have you been there, Central Tavern?
I have not been to Central Tavern. I was just interested more in okay, when we get the full band, full Dusty experience. And
cool. Yeah, that'll be a good one.
Yeah. No. So you've been on the road for a while. How do you travel? Because like you're doing some shows that are just you. Like last night, you were at Mercury Ballroom, and you did a solo show, right?
Well, I did. It was solo and duo. I did the first few songs on my own, and then I had my bass player Alex come there do, and because he's great at harmonies, and I didn't want to have to use my looper pedal, and I was just able to do more lead stuff and whatnot, and kind of put on a better show with having him there, and I get lonely on stage, and anytime I can have somebody up there with me, I'm down, even if I don't know them. But yeah, so as far as like last year we did a lot of band touring, so we did about 9 weeks on the road, and then there was a good amount of weekends that we would do between 2 and 4 shows here and there, but we did like 9 weeks of like straight solid touring, and with this year it's gonna be a lot more of a mix of me doing solo stuff and taking the band out, just because we're trying to do quality over versus quantity this year, because it's one of those things where we can get like if we get shows like last night where I'm opening for a bigger artist and we're getting in front of like more people, it's like we try to get more of those opposed to going out and doing 30 shows and we're playing in front of 15, 20, 30 or 40 people and stuff like that. Like we're trying to do it that way, so it's kind of all over the place, it's just however we can work it.
Okay, well, one of the things that we ask everybody that's on the show, just so we kind of get a barometer there, what was your first concert that you ever went to? Do you remember?
Oh yeah, Earth, Wind and Fire at the Louisville Palace.
Oh, all right.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Great show.
Yeah, it was rad. It was life changing, because that's what made me want to play guitar. That was like I saw. I think it was the bass player, I believe. When I found out later, I couldn't tell what was going on, but it was the bass player, and then they had I think a guy with a guitar, and then another guitar player. They all came to the middle of the stage, and they just had the biggest smiles on their faces, and everybody started cheering, and I was like, that is awesome. That seems like so much fun. So that's what I want to do, and yeah, kind of all took. The rest is history. Yeah.
Love it.
Do you remember the first album you bought?
Yes. Well, I didn't buy it. My dad bought it for me, but it was when it was actually there used to be an Ear Ecstasy in Middletown, over by the Kroger, and we went there. It was like 1996 or maybe 94. It was right when Dookie came out, because my brother wanted to get Green Day Dookie. It was a huge record, right? So he wanted to get that. So he got that one, and I got it was a Jimi Hendrix blues compilation album. It wasn't like one of his regular albums. It was him doing blues and then blues covers and stuff. So
right on.
Yeah.
And your first concert and first record are way cooler than mine. So
what are yours?
It's first concert was the Foo Fighters at like a zoo amphitheater, which was great. And then my first record was Blink 182's Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, which I am fully ashamed of to this day. But they headline Coachella this weekend, so I'm a little justified in my fandom. I don't know.
I would trade your first show for I love Earth, Wind and Fire, but Foo Fighters are like, Dave Grohl's one of my heroes. Like, I would trade that first show any day. And I love Blink-182 as well. So don't be ashamed of that. Come on, man.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Well, hey, before we hop into the second pour, leading up into the point where you are Dusty Bo and this band that you have currently, tell us just a little bit about your musical evolution. You know, did you play as a kid? How'd you pick up a guitar? The bands that you were in, the projects you were part of, all that stuff. Give us a little bit of a timeline for you.
So I started playing guitar at 7 and caught the bug early. It was just like, you know, knew by the time I was 12 or 13, I wanted to be a professional musician because I was watching Almost Famous with two of my best friends. And it was a scene right before Stillwater goes out to play their first show. The first one that the kids and the journalist kid is following him on. And then Russell, the guitar player, is walking around playing some like burst Les Paul backstage. And my buddy Clayton's like, how'd you like to do that, man? And I was like, what? And he goes, just traveling around the world and play guitar all day. And I was like, jackpot. That's what I wanted to do. So that's when I knew at that point, I started trying to get, you know, people to play with, and me and friends would start bands, and then started playing professionally out around like 17, 18, and then moved to LA with my band at 21. And then was out there for almost 10 years doing, you know, the band thing. The band I moved out there with was a Southern rock band called Bolt Action Thrill. And then the band I was in the majority of the time there after Bolt fell apart, I was in a band called Future Villains for about 6 or 7 years. And then that fell apart as well. And then I got sick of bands falling apart. So I was like, I'm going to do my own thing. The only person that can screw this up is me. And put out a record, and then a lot of stuff went down when I was living in LA, and I was like, well, I don't really need to be here anymore anyway. And was doing my records in Nashville, and I had just wasn't homesick, but I was like, I realized as I was coming home, I was like, there's just more time in the day here in this part of the country, and this, that, and the other. And it made sense for, you know, what I was doing at the time, because I was kind of going to this country music world. And then after I kind of went after the country market for about a year, I was like, this isn't really me. I'm like a rock and roller, even though I do love country music and I write country music. And so that's kind of what spinballed into the Vulture and the Fox. And this is like, you know, it's kind of an all over the place album. There's country on there, there's rock, there's metal, there's blues, there's Southern rock, you know. So that was kind of the thing, was like, hey, this is, you know, and there's all kinds of depths and dimensions to that record, but mostly it's like me finding myself as an artist, and me finding myself as an artist is that I'm an absolute like multiple personality schizophrenic songwriter. Like I just don't have, I can't just write, you know what I'm saying? Like but yeah, man. So that's just kind of been the last, I guess I started doing the solo thing in 2018. And yeah, just kind of still going with it, you know.
Right on. Yeah. Well, we'll deep dive some of that more in just a minute. If you guys are ready, do we want to hop into pour number 2? Is that all right?
Before we get to that, I don't have a photo on my computer.
That's a beautiful bottle,
isn't it?
Wow.
I don't have the picture on my computer of the Westport pick, but this is the Lee W. Sinclair label. And that was designed by our friend Jolie Kasperzak. She's lovely and talented and makes a darn fine whiskey label. But that's what that looks like. Lee W. Sinclair.
Shout out Jolie.
Beautiful. I'm going to grab another glass of ice. I'm not pouring on top of this one. Give me 10 seconds.
Sure.
Cool? Yep, absolutely. So, yeah, we should shout out Jolie. Lots of cool things happening out at Patoka Lake Winery and Homestead Distillery.
Yeah,
very excited to get out there and visit sometime. Have you been out to the site yet, Kevin?
I have. I was out there, I don't know, a couple months ago. I'd gone up to French Lick to see Alan about some stuff, and was coming back through, and went to Patoka. And at that point, they kind of had a slab for the distillery, but I think they've put up a lot more. The brewery they had already framed in, so they're making progress there, so it'll be really nice.
I'm very excited to see the future of what they've got going on out there. That's gonna be cool.
Very much so.
Well, let's hop into this one. see what you guys think of Poor B.
Poor B.
Let's hear your thoughts, Kevin.
Well, this is gorgeous. And yeah, I won't no spoilers, but it's kind of like a lot of the descriptors that I had on the other one. It's kind of like that on steroids.
Steroids, yep.
Yeah, this kind of takes that whole concept to the next level. There's a creaminess to it, and there's some really beautiful spice notes to it. Maybe even some nice like cherry pie.
I like that. Yeah. Dusty, what do you think, man?
More spice. That's what I got. It wasn't yeah, still smooth and creamy. Like it's got like it's like a amplified version of that last one a little bit. Yeah.
There's some oatmeal cookie to this.
Yes. All right. So I was gonna go gingerbread, like the spice and sugar cookie kind of combo there. But I like your descriptor as well.
The soft archway gingerbread cookies.
Yes.
That's your fat guy tasting note for the evening.
I like it. Well, we can sip and enjoy on this, but any other thoughts, guys, before I tell you what this one was?
Nope.
No? Dusty, anything? Okay. Cool. So this was also a Lee W. Sinclair single barrel from a different shop here in town. This was from Frankfurt Avenue Liquors over on Frankfurt Avenue, obviously, picked out by my friend Sean McClendon. This is one proof point shy of the last one. It's 105.3. It is also a 4-year, 4-grain product from Spirits of French Lick. So wanted to throw you a little bit of a curveball, I guess, and give you two of the same, label or expression back to back, but two different single barrels. And just kind of, demonstrate, like we always do on the show, what two different barrels look like. So very cool.
But one thing, and I think that your comment about the first one, the Westport whiskey and wine pick, it's a little off profile. As soon as I tasted this one, I knew exactly what it was. It was very much on profile, but because it has that creaminess, the more of the oatmeal notes to it, and a little of hazelnut in there that you typically get in a Lee W. Sinclair. But I think it's just kind of emphasizing different notes on that, as opposed to, it's kind of like a mix. Like if you've recorded a song and now you're doing the mix. Okay. Well, let's crank up the bass a little bit here. Let's take the high end off of this. That's what this is. That's the way, another way that whiskey and music kind of correlate. So
100%. I love it. Any other thoughts from you, Dusty, before we jump back into the music side of things?
I just want more of it.
Well, I've got about a half a bottle sitting downstairs, so come over anytime, brother.
Right on.
Yeah. I've got a bottle or 10 sitting around here too.
Stashed away.
Yeah.
My
wife,
we're a little bit of fanboys. But we are hardcore fans of Spirits French Lick and everything Alan does. So I always like to feature them on the show.
Awesome.
Okay, so Dusty, you talked a little bit about kind of your music progression, and you moved to LA. Now, when you moved to LA, were you already in the bolt action? What'd you call it?
Bolt action thriller?
Yeah,
yeah, bolt action thrill. Yeah, it was it was 2009, and well, actually it was 2008 when we decided we were going to do it. It's because we were kind of at first we didn't start off as a Southern rock band. We went through a few different changes. Me and the bass player and drummer, we had a band before, and we were like psychedelic hard rock. I was going through like a big Incubus and like new metal phase, so it was like I was a huge fan of just like Chevelle and Foo Fighters, but not
okay,
Foo
this
Fighters.
is gonna be funny.
Foo Fighters
this is gonna be funny in a minute.
Foo Fighters isn't new metal, but like I was like a fan of like big production rock, and then psychedelic stuff too. So anyways, we're kind of, but then our buddy Luke, he joined the band, and we, me and him were both really bluesy guitar players, and so we kind of wanted to do like this like Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses kind of thing, but hard rock, whatever. And so we were playing around town for a bit, and then like things were they were kind of just idle for a bit. Like, there wasn't a lot of people that wanted to play shows with us and whatnot. And then I just kept having these urges, and I loved Los Angeles and California from the first couple of times I went out there, and just the history of it, like knowing about the whiskey and the Sunset Strip and like Sunset Sound, like all these, these great records and bands that were just kind of, a part of that scene were some of my favorites. So we made the decision. We gave ourselves 6 months to like save the money and make plans and get out there, and we just did it. And it was fun. Even though that band didn't last more than a few years, but it was still, yeah.
Now, were you the vocalist in that band also, or just
vocals and guitar player? So it was kind of like we kind of compared it to like a rock and roll Brooks and Dunn, because there was two frontmen. It was me, my buddy Luke. We both played lead guitar and we both sang.
Okay.
So
awesome.
So it was cool, and it's cool dynamic. And like we were like, when we did kind of go to the Southern rock thing, when we met this producer and told him like our thoughts of this record that we wanted to do, that's when we like kind of had this gimmick. Like speaking of bourbon, our album was called Boot, Scoot, and Bourbon was the name of our record. So we were just a whiskey drink. Like we had a song called Bourbon Drinkers. We just talked about, it was a very fun, like Southern rock almost. We try to bring kind of like a Nashville kind of vibe to LA. And it was cool because like, we had girls showing up in like, tied up flannel shirts and cowgirl boots and hats and whatnot. Like, and that wasn't a thing like you would see. It was, people are kind of hell bent for leather and denim out there for the most part. So it wasn't like we stood out in a good way,
Okay. Yeah, I was just looking at the album art. So.
Oh yeah, Zoe, the pinup girl. You pull her up. We had a lot of fun with this tattoo artist. She drew up this album cover, and then we would like put her on, like, we would do this thing. God, this is so fun.
I didn't come through very well.
Well, you can kind of see she's like a pinup cowgirl on a rifle.
Nice.
But we would do this thing called the Bourbon Bus, and that was where we would like. This is honestly kind of what started giving us like a helping us make more fans and giving us a bigger name on the Strip, because people were like really talking about not just the band and their songs and the performance, but the overall like experience of the night. So we had a rehearsal studio that we would have a pre-party at. We would get a keg of beer, and then we get a bunch of bottles of booze, and then we would have a bus that would pick everybody up and bring you to the show and then back. And we would kind of sell it as a package instead of just buying a ticket to the show, pay $25 or $30, whatever. And that gets you a cup for booze and beer, a ticket to the show, and a ride down to Hollywood. So you don't got to worry about driving down there and parking, and everybody was just kind of partying on the bus like a bunch of kids going on a field trip.
Right.
Right on.
So, yeah, it was a blast, and it was like, and it was convenient. And it helped to sell tickets, because it was like, it was tough to, that was one of the things about LA is like, if you're an up and coming band, a lot of times, like you have to sell tickets. It's, they call it pay to play. I mean, you can make money off of it, but you just got to hustle. There we go.
Yep.
So sometimes when we do the Bourbon Bus, she'd be riding a bus. We play on New Year's Eve. She'd be riding a champagne bottle. We played with a band called the Buffalo Killers. She was riding a buffalo. So we had a lot of fun with that artwork.
Okay. Yeah, I've not listened to the album. I didn't know that was out there, but I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it's goofy, and it's almost every song's explicit. It's very different than we were 22 years old, and you'll hear the fun and maturity of it.
I love it.
Yeah, man.
I love it. So, man, you've been back in Louisville doing the solo thing for a little bit. How's that experience been working with Louisville musicians, working on your own solo projects, all that kind of stuff?
Man, it's been really cool. You know, it's been difficult. Like, it's tough to, you know, it's tough to, like, I guess, book gigs sometimes with certain artists, you know, or not. I shouldn't say that with me, because I think sometimes, you know, people don't know, like, exactly if, like, he's like, is he rock and roll? Is he country? This, that, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes it can kind of work against me in certain ways. But as far as, like, the music scene, it's been really rad seeing, like, all these different kinds of artists. You know, like, there's a big jam community here, lots of folk and Americanas, and it's been awesome, like, you know, meeting you know what I mean, like the jam, like the jam at the barn, and there's just so much, there's a lot of variety, which I really like, you know. I really dig that. I wish there was a little more rock and roll, you know, to be honest, but it's at the same time, there's so much other great stuff. It's kind of tough to beat it in certain ways. You know, it's like there's a little bit here for, I think, anything for everybody, which is great.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, before we get into deep guitar nerdery, tell us a little bit about this this record that you put out. You know, tell us about the inspiration for it, the writing process.
So the inspiration of this was, again, there's a good amount of dimensions and layers to this. So I watched Sturgill Simpson's Sound and Fury. I don't know if you guys have seen the anime picture that goes. Okay, so when I watched that, I'd say a few days later, I was like just going through songs, and I was like, you know, kind of wanting to put out an album, and I was still, like, kind of in I wasn't sure which direction I was going. It was just kind of when I stopped going for the commercial, like the country market and whatever. And then I had a bunch of songs that, you know, I had been working on, and I had already written and recorded a few of them. And I just started writing them down, and I was like, Bandit, Burn Me, On With the Ride, The Conductor. And I was like, hang on. I was like, this is like, this has this kind of spaghetti Western feel to it. And then Mark Roberts, you know, you met, you know, Mark. So I used to live with him, and he's a big spaghetti Western fan. And we were watching Tombstone one time, and I was like, man, it'd be cool to write like a concept album about like a spaghetti Western, but in like a few songs, have like a story of like this like town. And then I remembered having that conversation with him. I was like, I'm going to write a concept album about a gunfighter. And I was like, you know, when I was reading off the song title, I was like, this would be cool, because it's like guitar slinger, you know, gunslinger, you know, it had like this kind of, and then a lot of the songs were, you know, like Burn Me, for example, was about, you know, when I was in my last band, Future Villains, and we got tied into a bad management deal, and like just kind of like you know, one of the lines is you're oh my god, I'm blanking right now, you're always blind to something when your eye is on the prize. So it's kind of like, you know, we were out there, like, you know, focused on this, that, and the other, and like you get blindsided by whatever. But there was a lot of depth to that record, as far as like, just, it was heavy. There's a lot essentially about me moving to Los Angeles, this gunfighter moving to the Wild West, and then getting in with this crew that he wanted to be a part of, and then they turn on him, and then things start getting south. He gets caught up in bad living, and then he falls in love, and he gets saved. He gets brought back to, you know, he dies, he gets brought back to life, and all, you know, it's kind of it's almost like a hero's journey kind of story.
Yeah.
You know, but it's portrayed through a gunfighter, not
Right.
Sure.
Not just me, but yeah, there's
yeah,
lots of layers to it.
Well, I was gonna say, how much of that is autobiographical?
A good amount of it, and what you mean, the whole record?
Well, that particular story seems like there's some things that you would identify with or would be parallels to your life.
Oh yeah. So there was that was what kind of happened. We went out there and we were making this name for ourselves, and people were talking about us and whatnot. We got in with the people that we wanted to, and then things were going really well. They started to progress, and then money and greed, once you get to the certain point, money and greed really kind of get in the way, and then people start acting differently. People will change over those kinds of things, and so yeah, and then falling in love, getting caught up in bad living, and like having somebody that come in and kind of help you out and get you out of that mess, and then that falling apart after things are good again, and then you get out of there. And so that's kind of the end of it's kind of the exit. Me moving back home, but it's also when going back to the Sturgill Simpson movie, I wanted to. That's why there's there's illustrations with it. I originally wanted to have a full on like hour-long animation, all black and white, other than the blood. Whenever there's blood, that would be red, but all black and white, and but very nowhere near as not anime. Like, I mean, that was like a $2 million thing that he did. Like, right. This would be more very like simple. Just to kind of get the point across, but it's gonna be, I kind of aimed a little high with that at first. That'll happen eventually, but the first, what will happen within the next, I'd say, couple years, will be like a graphic novel lyric book that'll go along with the record, so people can like actually like, while they're reading the lyrics, they see what's happening in the story. Yeah, because it's not all like obvious when you're listening to the record. Like, there's some things where it's like that I wrote for the storyline that makes sense to me, but they wouldn't make sense just to the average listener,
right?
Or anybody listening that doesn't know about the song, the story behind the song.
Yeah, because when the first track on the album is "On with the Ride," and probably the first half of it is spoken word, and it's like, okay, you're setting up a story. And so the first time I listened to it, I was just saying, okay, he's setting up a story, and then it really kicks. But then I went back through it and I'm like, okay, well, I don't think this is the story. The story's not about somebody else. The story's about you. Is that?
Yes.
Yeah. Because that's your story. I mean, and I was just trying to piece this together, and I'm like, okay, he went to Los Angeles, and a city of bright lights and dark souls, and and so it really sets up the rest of the album very well.
Thank you.
But initially I wasn't positive what I was hearing and what it was setting up, but as you listen to that, it really does set the stage for everything else.
Awesome. Thank you.
And I'll say this: the reason I was laughing earlier is after I've listened to the Vulture and the Fox, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 times now, and then listened to the live album probably 2 or 3 times, and I do music notes like I do whiskey notes. What is it to kind of describe what I'm hearing, just like I would describe what I'm tasting. And there were 3 band names that I wrote down.
Cool.
Okay. One was Lynyrd Skynyrd, one was Audioslave, and one was Chevelle.
Oh, awesome. I love that. That's why you were laughing when I said Chevelle. Like, great. Awesome.
Yeah, because Chevelle's one of those bands that they're fantastic, and they've been around a while, but not everybody knows Chevelle. So when I wrote that, I thought, well, whether he knows it or not, if he doesn't know it, he can check them out. But
that's great, man. Yeah, they're I love that influence is still kind of coming through in my music, because that was a huge fan of theirs for a while, and to me they're very, very underrated band. Like I think they should be a lot more well known. They do, I mean, they're doing fine, but it's like a good amount of people don't know about them. I'm surprised. And like, they're, especially for a 3-piece, man. I remember I saw them at Jillian's in like 2006 or 7, and they were fantastic. Like, for 3 guys, just blew the roof off the place, man. It was awesome.
But you can tell that there is a Southern rock influence in there. Is that fair? And it's not just Southern rock for the sake of Southern rock. It's legit, and that's where I thought that Skynyrd fit. And that's not to be a cliche, because to me that's a very high compliment.
I appreciate them, man. They're one of my favorites.
But the rest of the album, it really kind of flows after that first track. I think the way you laid the album out track wise makes a whole lot of sense. And I really enjoyed Bandit, and I've got to say that my favorite is probably the conductor. And
that one goes hard.
That's the heavy one on the record.
After listening to it, especially on the live album, I'm thinking, I bet he needs a lozenge. But that's where the whole Audioslave thing kind of seemed to fit. And so if you're a fan of Skynyrd, Audioslave, or Chevelle, you'll love this, because it kind of pulls some of the best things out of all 3 of those into this album.
Man, that's you are just pulling on my heartstrings, bro. Like, Chris Cornell's one of my favorites, man. He's So that's awesome to hear. I appreciate you.
I love it.
Well, it's really good. So what prompted the live album?
So I wanted to have it all was kind of coming from like a marketing tool standpoint, because I wanted to have some stuff that showed what we sounded like live, like to where it's like, here's my record, but okay, a lot of times when you want to book gigs places or whatever, it's like, okay, but what do you sound like live? Like, where's some good video? And I was like, well, I want to have that, and then also just have some content. So and I had been told again from my good friend Mark Roberts and his girlfriend Vanessa about La La Land here in Louisville, and I never heard of it. There we go. I never heard of it, and that was taken at the barn. Drew, I don't know if you remember seeing the disco ball. At the barn. So we were I won't go into too much depth, but we'll say we had some special vegetables one evening, and we had the lasers going, and my buddy Mark Roberts took a picture like under the disco ball with the lasers coming off of it, and then I was like, oh man, I got to get some more of these. So I took a few more, and one of those was on that, and I was like, this looks too cool. And anyways, the live album, I wanted to have primarily like a marketing tool, and then also just have some good content. And then we went there, and I had video crew come in to get the video, and then had the the live audio. So that audio is actually just, if you get on the YouTube videos and just look at Dusty Bo live at La La Land, that's that same audio.
Okay.
But I wanted to like have a put it out, because it was a pro audio performance of the band. It's like it was a live performance, so it's like, why not? Sounds good, put out, because
there's an outtake on there, so it wasn't
that's right. There are a couple things on there that aren't on YouTube. So there's that outtake on Words Don't Mean Much. You're talking about the screw up at the beginning, and then there's a drum solo at the end of the conductor that's also not on the video.
Okay.
So very cool.
I thought that was because that means you're going live to tape on it, and and it was funny too when I was releasing live at La La Land. A lot of people thought that I was going to be playing when I was promoting it, like up to the point of promoting it or releasing it.
a lot of people thought I was going to be playing a show at La La Land. So I had to put out a couple videos saying, I'm not playing a show. I'm just releasing a record. It was awesome that people were interested, because that would be a really cool place to have like a live performance, but and whatnot. But it would be kind of difficult because everyone would have to have headphones on anyways. But yeah.
I thought you were playing. I thought you were playing at a Ryan Gosling, Emma Stone movie, but
I still haven't seen that, which is funny because anyways, lived out there. But I've heard
wasn't that the one that they handed out the Oscar to the wrong? They gave the film of the year to La La Land and then said, "Oh wait, I read the wrong one." And
oh no,
yeah, I think that was it. But anyway, that has nothing to do with this.
That would be
sorry for the diversion.
That's funny.
Awesome.
So there are again, I really enjoy the album. Enjoy a lot of the songs on it, and one that is I think kind of poignant, and one that you mentioned, because there's kind of the false start or whatever on it on the live album is the final track on the Vulture and the Fox album. And that's Words Don't Mean Much.
Yes, sir.
Talk a little bit about that, because you're kind of going through some different situations and relationships where that phrase "words don't mean much" applied.
Yeah. So, and what's another thing with that, as far as like the concept, that's the only part of the album. That's the only song in the album that's not part of the concept. That was kind of like going to be like the credits song or whatnot. But that was just I wanted to close the album with that, because that's just something. It's basically, like what it says in the title, words don't mean actions speak louder than words. Like, don't believe words as much as actions, and like what people, just because there was a lot of things that, we get told growing up, we get fed in the media, you get told in relationships from people, like there's just things that, it's kind of just keep don't trust anyone, but at the same time, it's like it's talk is cheap, as far as like when you want to see how people really are. It's like, let them show you, don't let them tell you, like just be, be. And so yeah, that's honestly like that's probably the most, it's one of the at least top 3, if not the most meaningful song that that I've written, because that's just kind of something that I live by. It's just like there's a lot, I think, in society that we're told, and that we're believe it if you want to, but let the action speak louder than words.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's the theme a lot of us resonate with, whether it's in a romantic relationship or something we see on Twitter, or whatever the case may be. Yeah.
Right.
That one feels very accessible.
Yeah.
As a theme.
Yeah. And because you talk about one is relationship with church, and one is a relationship with a woman, and
then media.
Yeah. So I think those are all things that people navigate their way through.
Truly.
And then, you may reach a point that, the words don't mean much, but is there a way to reconciliation or restoration in any or all of those? I mean, I think that's that's kind of the, to me, when I listen to that, that was kind of the final question that I thought was left lingering, is how do you make peace with all of that? Because you can't just leave those relationships completely ignored.
Right.
How do you bring that? Can you bring that all back full circle at that point after being hurt?
Yeah.
Whew.
I don't know. Never been asked that before.
Deep thoughts. Okay.
Yeah, but no,
there's a little fodder for your next writing session, man.
Yeah, truly. Wow.
I like it.
I didn't mean to get too philosophical.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
I mean, but when again, I think that speaks to the songwriting, that there are things that I take from this that make you think.
Yeah.
So.
Which I love that. I love things that get my gears churning, going.
Well, so while we're talking about songwriting, what's your process? How do you pull together a song?
It usually with me starts with a melody or a guitar part, like a guitar riff or like a tempo or a rhythm or a progression. Like, we were, I think we might have brought this up at the songwriter group, Drew, just as, some people, words happen first, with them and whatnot. But me, it's more like, it's more of a vibe, like a feeling, it's like, how's this guitar part make me feel? Or how's this like melody, or, it's like a, like a colorful kind of thing, to where it's like, is this dark sound? How does this make me like sad and angry? Does this make me happy? Does this make me like excited? So it usually starts with, for me, it rarely starts with the lyrics, but every once in a while it'll start with like, words don't mean much. So that actually started with that one was one that started with a lyric, weirdly, with the title, but that was, thinking about this girl that I dated, that I brought home for Christmas, and, found out she was, fooling around, whatever. And I was just like, the word that rhymes with more came up, and I was just like, so that's how that one started. But usually with me, it's some kind of, it's musical more than it is lyrical. So, but it just depends, sometimes it comes to you in different ways, right? Like sometimes it's
100%.
It's not always the same. And, yeah, but usually with me, it's melody and music first. Yeah.
Who are the songwriters that have inspired you, or that you may pattern some things after?
Steven Tyler and Joe Perry. I really, Aerosmith, and then love Skynyrd, love Hendrix, the Eagles, Paul McCartney. He's I mean the Beatles too, but I really love. I think it's you can go. It's a tough argument who's the better songwriter between Lennon and McCartney, but I'm a McCartney guy. I just, what I mean? And he's just got, his voice is undeniable too, but, but yeah, those are, and big AC/DC fan too. So Bon Scott and Angus Young and Brian Johnson, like I love those guys as well. So yeah.
When you're talking about the concept album, or the album being a concept album, one of the ones that I thought of was, Pete Townsend and the Who.
Oh, cool. Tommy.
Yeah, Tommy and Quadrophenia both. Yeah.
Oh, Quadrophenia that one's a concept record.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, I got to dig into that one.
Go back and give it another listen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But again, that's kind of along the concept album way of things. But
Tommy's wild. And the movie's insane too, and loaded with rock stars. Have you seen that, Drew? Tommy?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right on.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I think Kevin turned me on to that a couple years ago.
Cool.
Yeah. You'll never think of baked beans the same way again.
Or
True
Keith
story.
Moon. Keith Moon is Uncle Ernie. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
That's
Yeah.
Don't want to dig too far into that, but yeah.
Awesome.
Wild.
Well, I know we're coming up on an hour, and Kevin, feel free to ask whatever else you want to ask. But one of the things that I've just been so impressed with you you know, Dusty, in our short relationship that we've had is the way that you're investing in the talent here in Louisville, cultivating songwriters, cultivating guitar players, especially. I know that's a passion of yours. So could you speak to maybe where you picked up on that and what it means to you and what you're trying to accomplish here in the local Louisville community? Because that's meant so much to me.
Right on, man. I appreciate you saying that. Well, so going back to when I first moved to LA, when we first got there, we played a show at the Whiskey. We had our very first show, and Mark Roberts flew out there because I know Mark through my buddy Luke Powers, who was in the band. Luke was in Bolt Action Thrill with me. We moved to LA together, and then so Mark was, that's a whole nother story, but he came out there right when we booked our first gig at the Whiskey, and then we played and then had a recovery day from the next day. And then the day after that, it was, you know, Mark's like, all right, what are we doing today? And we're like, I think we're just going to drink and play video games. He's like, no, you guys, we need to go out. You need to go out and you need to meet people. It's called networking and let people know you're here. You can't just play shows and rehearse and play a show every 2 months and things are going to work out. It's like, you got to let people in and whatnot. So that was honestly a huge life-changing moment because we started going out and like meeting all these other players and writers and producers and whatnot, and had this community. And it was just one of those things where we would bring guitars over to each other's houses and we would write with each other, and we'd support each other. And then, you know, it was more of a, when you're in a town like Los Angeles or Nashville, you know, it's kind of why people go to those places, is because they want to be in, you know, submerged with creatives and artists and these misfit outcast minds and whatnot. So I wanted to kind of, and I really enjoyed that when, you know, coming back home, it was just like, there's a lot of talent here. There's a lot of great musicians and great artists, and like, just not just music, like there's a whole everything, like art, photography, food, you know, just all the things. There's so much here. And I love connecting dots, you know, and helping people get, you know, progress, you know, or just meet the right folks. Cause it's just like, there's a seat at the table for everybody. And then it's often not your, there's just I'm trying to figure out how to say this properly, but it's like there's gigs that aren't for me. There's things, there's songwriters that should work with other people that, you know, or that might not necessarily be for, you know, your benefit, but somebody else's. And it's like you can make these connections, and they might not meet if it weren't for you, or, you know what I mean, connecting them and whatnot. So I really just, I love, and I love the aspect of just, you know, it's kind of what the Monarch's about too, like a community, people work in strength in numbers, and people really just coming together to support each other and whatnot. So yeah, man, it's basically that, you know, just love for the love of everybody else, man. And like, and because I know it's tough, and it's like, it's one of those things where sometimes it just takes somebody to an introduction, you know, like the fact that we're doing this now, like I love that, you know. And if it weren't for Kevin, you know, telling you about the jam and whatnot, like we probably would have met down the line sometime.
Sure.
But, you know, it's like, so yeah, man, it's all, we need to work together more. It's all love, man. Love is the answer. It's so cliche, but love really is the answer. I firmly believe that.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the Monarch, and Drew has told me some about that, but explain what the Monarch is, and for people that might be interested, how they can get involved.
Sure. So it's a nonprofit organization that Mark Roberts and myself and a few other friends kind of dreamt up, and then Mark Roberts is the president, you know, of the operation, and it's the best way I can describe it for those that haven't been to a listening room experience. It's essentially, it's like seeing a musical performance as you would go to like the movies, or like like an opera, where you listen, like people turn off their cell phones, It's also, since it's nonprofit, it's BYOB. People can just bring coolers or bring a bottle of wine, bring some food, and then it's a suggested donation to the artist for the shows. But it's much more than just a show experience. It's also a place where songwriters can get together and co-write. You can use it as a rehearsal space, and it's eventually they're still working out the by the time this comes out, they might even have it launched, the membership platform, to where there'll be artist memberships and patron memberships where you pay a monthly fee, and for artists it's like you pay this amount, but then you have a key card and you get to go in. You can use the space for, as long as there's not an event happening, you can use the space for really anything you need to, musically or artistically. And it's more primarily focused on music right now, but it'll eventually be, they had a photography book release, and eventually there'll be like, art gallery installments and stuff. Like, it's going to be very supportive of all the art community, and like eventually have maybe like stand-up comedy, shows, and spoken word poetry, and really all things art, but it's amazing. You should check out a show there, Kevin. It's a great thing.
Yeah. You'd absolutely love it.
Yeah. I went to the website when Drew was telling me about it, and there is a section for memberships for artists and musicians, and a section for patrons. And so I've emailed requesting some more information on that. So hopefully I'll hear back something soon, and we can see what we can do with it. So
yeah. It's a wonderful thing. It's going to be really, it already has been great for the city, but it's going to be, eventually it's going to be a really, it's just, it's a matter of time until we get old Sturgill Simpson and Tyler Childers to play in there. And that's what, there's Jason Isbell's already played there. And so is like Margot Price. Anyways, it's a really fun thing. Been very, very beneficial, and just a lot of fun and enjoyment for it all.
Yeah. But we talk about it almost every show when we do the Hi, Welcome to Bourbon Turntable bit, and Drew and I are talking, and we're talking about almost every week, almost every show, live music that we've gone to see. And that may be here in Louisville, it may be in Lexington or Madison or Indianapolis or wherever, but somewhere we're going to see a live show. And that's what we want to promote. Live music wherever you are.
Awesome.
And live music doesn't mean, well, I've got to drop $100 for a ticket and then $45 for Ticketmaster charges in order to see live music. You don't. You can go to a bar, and in a lot of cases there's no cover. In some cases there is, and if there is a cover, it's usually not that much.
Right.
And there are great concert halls all around. So get into your local live music scene,
please,
and support those artists, because quite frankly, the people that you would go see in your hometown are going to be every bit as talented as the people that are walking the stage at the Grammys. It's just somebody got a break and somebody didn't.
Truly, it's so true, man. And it's also one of those things that I love. Like whenever I see a big headlining band or whatever, I usually, if I can, I always try to get there to see the opening bands or whatnot, or go see, even if it's not a big headliner band, like you're going to see any show, like get there to go get your money's worth. First of all, go there and get as much bang for the buck as you can. And two, it's like you just never know like who you're watching. So that person literally could be the next big thing, or just they could write a song that so and so covers years down the line. That's like, oh man, I remember seeing that song and nobody knew who that guy was until NSYNC covered a song and made it a mega platinum diamond album. And I love that. That's so exciting. And like, that's one of my favorite things about like getting to a show and seeing an unknown band. It's like, you never know.
Right.
You never know.
Right.
Yeah, man.
So, Dusty, tell us about the guys that you're playing with now, the guys that are in the band. Is it a set group that you record with and tour with?
There have been some changes as far as the drummer goes. So my bass player, Alex Roberts, he's been with me since we met in April, maybe May of 2020, like, you know, in the kind of right at the beginning of the pandemic. And he's been with me ever since. He's great. Phenomenal bass player. He does great backing vocals too. And he's just a road warrior. He's down. And you know, I love that about him. And great wild sense of humor too. Anyway, so yeah, he's been the only bass player for the project. We have had a few different drummers until now. Nick, our current drummer, he's a young Nashville drummer. He's not the one that played on the live album. That was Justin Shaw, who plays for the band Tony the Tan Lines. If you're familiar with, he's a great drummer, an old family friend of mine. But when we were getting ready to hit the road, you know, Justin's got a family and whatnot, so he couldn't live off of a, you know, $50 to maybe $100 a gig salary. You know, he's got mouths to feed and whatnot. Right. And yeah, Nick Ling is the drummer, and Alex Roberts is the bass player, and those are as long as they want to do it, they got the gig, because they're both great great players. So yeah. And eventually, I think the next thing I do want to add, I have tried working with some other guitar players. I love being a 3-piece, but I do want to have another extra, you know, a little bit more instrumentation. I think we're going to look into getting like keys, somebody that can like rip up a keyboard and piano and sing some backing vocals too, just to add another layer to the sound, you know. But I love being a 3-piece. It's just so simple. It's so easy. It's like less mouths to feed. And also it's like there's just one guitar, one bass, one drum. Right. Easy. Nobody's stepping on each other's toes or nothing, you know?
The gear fits in a van a little easier.
Oh my God. It's so simple. Like, I mean, it's like a sound guy's dream. And then also it's like, it's easy for us too. Like literally it's, you know, we got it dialed in, you know. We don't even need to have a sound check. We can do like a 30-second line check, and then we're good. So, but yeah.
Well, when I was first listening to the album, I texted Drew and I said, "Okay, is Dusty playing the guitar and doing the vocals here?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Gee, he's carrying a heavy load," because they're both exceptional.
Thank you, man.
And but from a guitar standpoint, who do you, and I ask you from a songwriting standpoint, who do you kind of pattern yourself after? But from same question, kind of as a guitarist, who are the people that when you first started playing, or even as you're progressed as a musician, that have meant the most to you?
Well, Jimmy's my guy. He's my
oh wow.
And then Angus Young from AC/DC.
Wow.
So that kind of goes back, you know, to same thing with my favorite songwriters, like Aerosmith, you know, Joe Perry, Jimmy, AC/DC, Skynyrd, you know, like I love Steve Gaines, and I mean Eddie Van Halen too, like that. But as far as like overall guitar players, top 3 would be Jimi Hendrix, Angus Young, and Joe Perry. Like just bluesy riffing guitar players, you know, like that's I'm more of a, like I love hearing a guitar player like light up a solo, but like I'm way more of like I love a good riff more than anything, you know, like I love something that's just really like just a iconic, you know, because a riff can have like a lead, it can be like a lick, it can have like a groove to it, it has a melody, something, you know what I mean? It's more of a yeah, I'm more of a riff guy. So yeah.
We've had on the show a few times Chris Tapp from a band called the Cold Stairs. And they're a 3-piece. There's a lot of old Western mythology in their songwriting, and Chris can really lay out a riff.
Cool.
So that if you're not familiar with them, I would say check them out. And,
I am. I think I just started following them on Instagram recently. They popped somebody shared one of their things, and it was they caught my eye. I'm almost certain I've been following them, but if not, I absolutely will. I know the name though.
Yeah, it fits. It's a fit.
Cool.
You know, and we record 2 shows a time, and this is the second one that we're recording on Sunday night. Just kind of a little, you know, how the sausage is made that nobody cares about. But in between the shows, I was thinking, and I was thinking ahead towards this show, and I mean, we've just been blessed with the musicians that we've been able to have on here, and you know what I'm going to try to figure out some way to help everybody connect, because you know everybody, you know who you know, and you don't know who you don't know, and we've just, like I said, we've been blessed with the people we've had on, good people, talented people, and people that are kind of your same mindset of how can I help other people be better, and how can I help grow the community, and so we'll figure out some way to, you know, not force one person on another, but just make sure that the folks that we've gotten to know have an opportunity to learn about everybody else.
Sure.
That we've had on. So
be huge.
Yeah.
Good deal.
So tell us what is next. You have another album in the works, or?
Yeah, putting out a first single for this. We're putting out a Southern Rock EP. And this will be my first record with Dusty Bo in the Contraband. So this I've recorded with the guys, with Alex and Nick, my actual band. It's a 5-song Southern rock album with it's all kind of just lighthearted fun. Southern rock tunes. It's going to be called Smothered, Covered, and Funked. And it's, you know, got a Waffle House theme.
House, yes.
Yeah, Waffle House theme album cover, and so we're that first single is going to come out. I was hoping to have it out by April, but I had to redo some guitar stuff, so we'll be putting it out for sure. At least the first single by May, earlier
Awesome.
mid-May. And then we'll probably put out another 2 singles after that, and then put the whole EP or album. I don't know if it's an EP or an album, whatever. It's a record to me, you know, whatever it is. You know? But that, and then it's just, you know, we're gonna be doing some more of these, you know, going out and doing some dates out of town. You know, we'll kind of do these, like, we're extended weekends and whatnot until October. We're gonna do a tour out west. We started planning something. We're gonna go because nice. I got some friends in Vegas, and that wanted to book us, and then so we're just gonna go do a beeline. I want to play Texas. I think I'd do well out there, and then we're gonna do a few California shows too. So. But that's not, you know, till fall. But we'll be out playing a bunch at least during the, you know, the spring and summer, and but no like lengthy touring unless we get picked up. Who knows? Like we'll be trying, you know, if we do get picked up as like a support act on a bigger tour, we'll go, you know. But as far as an independent like headlining act, we're not gonna be doing any like lengthy touring until fall. So, yeah.
Very good.
Right on.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, I'll look forward to seeing you and your band live.
Yeah, man.
Very soon. And just, again, not to overstate it, but I've really, really enjoyed Vulture and the Fox.
Thank you, brother.
Fantastic record. And the live album is a lot of fun too. It's a good pairing with the studio album. So
awesome, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate you listening.
Yeah,
use all the streams I can get, man.
Well, we'll do whatever we can to help.
Awesome.
But before we wind everything down here, I wanted to give everybody a chance to tell the folks where they can find you on social media. So, Dusty, where are you at, man?
Sure. On Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. It's at Dusty Vox, DUSTYVOX. And then on Facebook, just at Dusty Bow Music. And YouTube, I think, yeah, you just search Dusty Bow.
Okay.
B as in boy, O as in ostrich. Dusty like dirt, Bow like diddly. I said that the other day, and it was like, that is so stupid and funny. Anyways,
yep. No, that's good.
It works.
It absolutely works.
Yeah,
it absolutely works.
Yeah.
Drew, how about you, man?
Yep. DrewCrawleyMusic.com is the website that has links to all the socials, Twitter and Instagram, all that good stuff. And then Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you like to listen to music. I would appreciate it if you'd follow along. Live dates and everything like that are on all the socials. And then looking forward to a record coming out in November of this year. Very, very excited to have a first full-length record coming out. So keep an eye out for that. Yeah.
Yep. Some good tunes I've heard so far that'll be on that album. So I'm looking forward to it.
Is Palomino on that one?
Maybe. We'll see. We'll see.
I hope so.
Yeah.
It's a great tune.
Oh,
Thanks,
is
brother.
a great tune.
Yeah,
that's one of the ones that I've heard some of. So yeah,
cool.
hopefully it makes it. Hey, for our show, you can watch us on YouTube, and you can listen to us on a podcast of your choosing, as long as that choice is Apple, Spotify, or Google. We have a Facebook page where we post all of our shows. We have a Facebook group where you can join in the fun. You can post what you're drinking, what you're listening to while you're drinking it. And a lot of times I'll see somebody, hey, I've not listened to that in a while, or I haven't had that whiskey in a while. And so it kind of sparks some good reminders or helps introduce people to something new. And that's what we want to do here as well. So until next time, on behalf of my good friend Drew and my new friend Dusty,
cheers, boy.
Thank you for watching. Cheers, love, and Freebird. Good night, everybody.
Good night, y'all.